It took a few hours, but I walked out of the shop wearing a new leotard, and a bag with a few spares. It had also cost me way less than the first one. So that was nice. Rather than head directly home, I decided to look around, maybe stop at a cafe or something to eat something different. I didn't want to turn into June and his vento burrito aficionado status. The thought stopped me cold for a moment before I let it go. I would always worry about June, but all I could do is keep moving forward. I ended up stopping at a nice little cafe and eating a quiet lunch. The many mocks in the area were different. Thankfully, despite being Asian, no one bothered me since I wasn't exactly looking like a normal tiger claw. So, I got to people watch all the mocks that were everywhere in the area. Pastel and neon. Weird combo, but I could respect it. The mocks were interesting. On one hand, they were still sort of at the point in a gang's life where the original idea to actually make things better was still active. But at the same time it was starting to die off. Greed changed everything. Instead of helping people like the mocks had been founded on, they were now shifting to helping the mocks and no one else. Funny how that goes. Soon it would shift more and the mocks would be like Sixth Saint using force to keep their income stream safe and active. I finished up my lunch and left the little cafe, walking down the street just sort of taking in the sights of the area. Even here though it was tense. Mocks were heavily armed. People were scurrying around for the most part. Shops all had extra security either in guards or equipment. Everyone was afraid of the gangs right now. Tiger claws were being aggressive as Strom poked them with a stick, and it was having a knock-on effect. Tiger claws being angry and hyper-aggressive meant mocks were running into trouble, which was cutting off mocks' areas from other gangs. Most of the other gangs wouldn't admit it, but it was making getting BDs that the mocks sold difficult, and so that was causing tension everywhere. Crazy to think that basically lack of porn was causing an issue throughout the city, but there you go. Night City folks. I was walking down through a small park area when I heard it. A cry of pain, the sound of flesh being struck, and angry voices. I felt myself tense, a stream of instincts all coming out to play as I lowered myself down to better control my center of gravity and crept along. My boots became absolutely silent on the concrete path. Thankfully it wasn't anything serious. I turned around a bush on the path and frowned as I saw a bunch of teenagers. 3 boys all standing around a fourth who was on the ground. And bruised and beaten up. Trying to fuck us over again, huh Knox? One of the boys said as he kicked the figure on the ground. I think I'll just take what BDs you have instead. Teach you a lesson, yeah? The boy on the ground groaned and curled up around a backpack. I sighed, a teenage brawl? A sale of BDs gone wrong? Well, I didn't see any guns or knives, so I was pretty uninterested. But it would be the right thing to do, wouldn't it? To help out the guy on the ground. I considered it. I didn't really think of myself as a hero. I was kinda too selfish for that. But I had been doing a lot of murder, even if they all deserved it. Saving someone in trouble would be a good act. My shoulders slumped. All right, I think that's enough of that. I called out as I came around the corner. The 3 boys still standing all startled for half a second before looking between each other and me incredulously. Who the hell is this? Never seen her before, you Ian? Nope. Hey, fuck off. One of them called out, throwing me a middle finger. I looked the 3 boys over. No. Don't know what's going on, but I'm interfering. Head off. I think you've beaten the kid enough for today. Maybe I haven't, Chum. Why don't you fuck off, before we take you over to those bushes and play XBD? My nose crinkled. Disgusting. Just for that. I wasn't gonna let them walk away. I sighed as I adjusted my gloves a bit, ensuring they were tight, stretching my neck a bit to make sure I was limbered up. And then while the 3 gonks were all trying to square up and act like tough guys, I simply moved. Unfortunately, this was Night City. Teenagers knew how to fight here more often than not. They startled at my sudden aggression but didn't run, instead they attacked. I wasn't able to throw the first punch. Stupid long boy arms. But I had a few levels in street brawling. Blocking a punch was nothing fancy. I took the hit on my forearms and ducked in. A right jab into his gut caused him to burst into a wheeze as he folded over. Wow, did this kid not know how to take a punch? I barely got my arm up in time to block a punch from my right. My eyes caught where he was looking, the accuracy of my kirashis making it child's play to lift a leg and catch his kick on my shin. The third guy was quicker than I thought. He didn't go for a punch, instead he grabbed my left arm in a harsh grip. Since I was already on one foot, he managed to move me pretty easily, almost throwing me to the ground, but I kept my feet by grabbing his wrist that was holding me. Then to my surprise I squeezed, and with a twist of my hand was able to rip his hand off my arm. Since I had him now, I pulled, tugging him into a knee that I slammed into his stomach. Turning to fight Kick Boy, I didn't quite manage to dodge a punch. I winced as his blow slammed not into me, but into the bowyer holstered under my jacket. Ow! I wheezed a bit as he just punched a hunk of metal into my chest, but he was getting the worse off. As he was staggering back, cradling his hand. Time out. I managed to wheeze as I waved him off, reaching up under my jacket and wincing. He punched the bowyer into my tit. Ow! I think you just broke my hand. He whined as he bent over his, clutching his wrist. Let's call it done? He asked after a minute of painful breathing as he struggled not to make too much noise. I had bent over the little stone wall that surrounded the park, clutching my chest as it throbbed in pain. Deal. Take your chums and get lost. I waved him off as I breathed, and after a few moments the three boys turned tail and ran. Ow! Sure, cold blood could make me not feel it, but come on, going all cold for a couple of kids seemed so pointless. But still. Ow! Hey, you alive? I asked once the three were gone as I walked over to the beaten boy. Huh? Beaten Mox boy. That was definitely their colors. I'll live, he muttered as he looked me over from a single eye, the other one already swollen shut. At some point he had stopped curling up and moved into a sitting position with his back resting against the stone wall. Good, I muttered, turning to walk away. I was so done here. Time to go check my bruised tit in my car. Even with the alerts for street brawling, I hadn't exactly been looking around for a fist fight. Also, my tit hurt. Wait. The teen gasped out as he sort of fumbled to stand. I turned and sort of stared at him, helpless to even get up and sighed. I owe you one, let me thank you. He begged as he rose up. It was obvious he was weak, but he managed to get to his feet. As he did, he gasped as his bag was held wrong. Everything inside fell to the ground in a torrent. Condoms? No, wait. Those were BDs. They were in condom wrapping because someone had a sense of humor. Fuck. He muttered, bending down into the dirt and stuffing them back into his bag. I watched for a minute before I finally decided to speak up. You should just leave them. I think you need to get to a Ripper or something first. No. I can't. Any of the BDs I lose, I'll have to pay for, he gasped out as he was struggling to find them all. I sighed, and with a single glance of my scanner I had them all. 3 of them were hidden under a bush, but after a moment and a confirmation from my scanner we had them all. Damn, are those kirashis? That's premware, he muttered, having noticed me looking around and scanning the ground. Thanks. I stood up, having grabbed the last of the BDs, and wiped my pants. I had just turned when I had a hand grab at my wrist. Hey. Wait. Hold on, I owe you one. I'm gonna go to Lizzie's to get checked out. You should come. I'm sure I can get you a reward for saving me. I don't really need a reward, thanks though. I offered, but the boy wasn't letting me walk away. See, come on, even if you won't accept a reward, you really saved me. Come by the bar, I can introduce you to Mateo. Cheap drinks? I don't drink. I refused, waving my hands, but again he wasn't taking no for an answer. Then at least come with, let everyone know who helped out Amox. We don't forget people who did us a favor, he begged. I was going to refuse again, but just as I was about to say it, he sort of limped and almost tripped. Fuck. He cursed, wincing at his ankle, which I noticed with a glance was swelling up. Looks sprained. Come on. I'll give you a ride at least. My car isn't far, I muttered. This is what I get for being the hero. A bruised hit, and having to do more work. He looked up, his face flashing into a smile, which wasn't the best to look at with all the swelling. Yes. Hey, I'm Nox the Mox. He introduced himself. Nox the Mox? I asked as I felt my face flattening into a deadpan. Yep. I'm a seller, a good one. A catchy name means people remember you when they want something. Trust me, it sounds a bit weird, but my name alone has got me a ton of business. He practically chirped as he limped along until I helped stabilize him. Motoko. I don't run with the gang, so I guess I'm Motoko the Merc. Oh? A Merc? I guess that explains the moves and the chrome, he said, adding a little karate chops to his words. Yeah, something like that, I muttered as we turned a corner and came up to my car. I could feel the moment he noticed it as he sorta pulled away a bit. Nice car. I might want to just walk. I chuckled a little at his response because I really needed to get my ride painted. Don't worry, I'm not a wraith, despite what my ride says. I had a job that took me out to the Badlands. It turned into a bit of a mess, but I flatlined the previous owner, and now I have his ride. I really need to get it painted. Right. Okay, sure, he muttered, sounding a little suspicious, but I shrugged and helped him into the car as I went around. With a flick of my mind I switched to map mode and made up a path to Lizzie's bar. So, a Merc, huh? What's that like? Pay goes from good to complete shit, usually depending on how much someone shoots you. I told him truthfully as I pulled out to the street and started driving to the bar. What's a BD salesman like? It's good eddies when I have a buyer, but it's just ennies most of the time. Nothing like Merc work. Trust me, Merc stuff can be fun, but it also has moments where you do a lot of work or get in dangerous situations and get paid close to nothing, I said, remembering a certain job with a group of teenage gangers. That had been a bit of a mess. Thankfully the bar wasn't far, and I didn't have to share more than a few more bits about jobs I had done before I pulled slowly into the parking lot of Lizzie's bar. Of course, pulling up in a very obviously painted ride drew attention. I could see the bouncer Rita, if I remembered her name right, go from relaxing at the door to carrying her baseball bat with a vengeance. Still, I ignored that, instead stepping out and walking over to help Knox get out of the car as he was having a bit of trouble with his foot. Once he was upright I didn't need to move anymore as Rita was there, baseball bat still held tightly in one hand as she looked over the two of us. Knox. What's going on? Rita, hey. I ran into Ian's group. They weren't happy with my price, and thought clipping would be cheaper. He spoke before pointing at me. Motoko here saved my ass, fought them off and sent them packing, even helped me pack up my stock. The stock that you were specifically told to stop taking out? That stock? Rita snapped, but sighed as she rubbed the bridge of her nose. Let's get you inside and cleaned up. Susie can decide what to do about you and your sticky fingers, the bouncer said as she reached over and helped Knox by grabbing his other arm. She stopped from moving though as she looks me over. We don't let wraiths into the bar. Not a wraith. Just a Merc. The previous owner of the car totaled my old one. I offered, lying. I didn't have a previous car, but it made me sound more mature rather than saying I stole it because I didn't have a ride and was sick of taking the bus and train. Right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was just making sure Knox got somewhere for help. I'll just head out, I added, moving to walk away when a hand once again grabbed at me. No. Rita. Motoko saved me. The least we can do is invite her in, Knox asked, and I felt my shoulders slump a bit. I turned around. That really isn't necessary. It is. You did Mox a massive favor. We don't just send people away who do that. Susie should hear. Let her decide. He begged, and I honestly didn't want to deal with this anymore, but Rita's shoulders slumped a bit as she started walking. Fine, she can come in. Just don't cause any trouble, Rita demanded, and I really considered just leaving, but Knox was throwing me a thumbs up and waving me to follow, and I sighed as I followed in after them. I didn't even like bars, much less a BD bar that was one step away from a dollhouse. I followed in after all, mostly because I was kinda curious if I would see Judy. So I walked into Lizzie's bar. We went instantly to the left and into a small side room off the entrance, where Knox was lowered onto a couch and Rita went around a bunch of lockers and grabbed a med kit. I looked around and was staring at an array of computers along the wall. Security, or was it the lights and music controls? I wasn't sure, and I wasn't about to go snooping. So I ignored it, and I watched as Rita, with surprisingly careful hands considering her arms were all chrome and covered in spikes, she slathered some goop on Knox's face and gave him a few bandages. Thanks, Rita. You are always trouble, kid. Try not to piss people off so much, she instantly retorted as she rose. I'll get Mateo to bring in something to drink and maybe something for the pain, and I'll call Susie. She is gonna deal with this from here. I need to get back outside. She stood, and as she walked past me she still and gave me a look. "Don't cause any trouble." She spoke bluntly, absolutely a threat, but I just shrugged. "I'm not on a job, not much of a troublemaker otherwise," I assured her, and she sorta nodded without doing so. "I think she likes you," Knox offered as he lay back on the couch sort of sighing. "I think you need to get your head checked," I said as I sat in the desk chair. "You gonna be good?" "Yeah, Mateo will bring me something good for the pain and I'll be square. But soon Susie will be here and she can slip you a nice reward." "I don't really need anything, a reward sounds a little silly." "Nonsense. You saved a Mox, the least we should do. Besides, I haven't gotten your number yet." "What do I do if I need to hire a merc if I don't get your number?" he asked, flashing me a crooked smile that had nothing to do with his bruised and bloody lip. "Talk to a fixer," I retorted simply, which caused his smile to twitch and deflated my instant refusal. The noise of the club picked up suddenly as the door opened. "Knox." "Hey Suze," he called out, sounding cheerful even if he was only looking at her with one eye. She gave a sigh as she looked him over for a moment before seeming to decide he would live. She turned to me. "Susie Q. The leader of the Mox. Also a woman that didn't seem to be happy to deal with this shit right now." "You are?" "Motoko. Just someone that saw Knox getting in trouble and decided to help out," I offered with a shrug which didn't seem to satisfy the woman. She kept her eyes locked on me, as if trying to will me to fess up, or alter my story. But I literally had no idea what she wanted. "Your help is appreciated then. You helped the Mox. We will remember," she offered simply, and I shrugged. "No worries. I just saw someone getting beat up and decided to step in." I turned towards the door. "All right. I'm heading out. Knox, heal well, try not to pick fights with people that are stronger than you. Or more numerous. Or come on Motoko, at least give me your number. I might have some jobs for you." I sighed as I moved to open the door as I bent my head over my shoulder, letting my eyes go gold. "There. See you around," I called after sending him a handshake exchange. His information and mine shared between us. "Preem," he called out as I headed out, swiftly running from the bar, and the many people giving me looks. It wasn't my fault I had a race car. I mean, it was that I hadn't gotten it painted yet. Okay, fine. I guess it was my fault. I hurried to my car, noticing a Mox girl hiding by the driver's door as she dug through her bag, a clink of spray cans reaching my ears. I sighed and hurried, getting there just in time to slip the can out of her hand as she reached to start graffitiing my car. The old paint job is terrible, I know, but I already have plans to get a new one. Let's leave it at that. I tell the younger girl. She was probably 12, 13? Smaller than me, as she hastily accepted my offer of her spray can back before she took off. I just let her run off. No point in causing a scene. Even if Rita had looked like she was about to hurry over and protect the little girl. This city needed to relax a little. I slipped into the car, ignoring everything else as I slowly backed out of the spot so I wouldn't hit anyone, and sedately drove to the street access. A flip of my turn signal, and a double check to make sure I had space let me slip onto the road and slowly accelerate off the property. The next morning I was back to grinding tech. I had spent the afternoon after dealing with the Knox situation heading out to the dump to find some goodies. Thankfully it had done some good. New pieces of tech to work on had made the alerts start popping up again. I was so close to another level. I also still hadn't heard from June, but I was doing my best to ignore that. Hiromi was in class, and I really had nothing to do but just keep grinding away. I munched on mystery meat stick as I continued to tinker on getting the laptop working. My current plan was to take a few of the laptops I had managed to get working again, and try to learn how to make my own quick hacks. I hadn't gained any knowledge on them from crafting, so there must be a new skill hidden there in the system for me to learn, and I needed more numbers. Numbers for the numbers god. I took a break and stretched a long yawn, pulling from my throat as I decided to get some lunch. With Hiromi in school I wouldn't be able to eat with her, but I figured I could head out and find something tasty, and after maybe I should get my car painted. Probably should do that sooner rather than later, I grumbled, as I headed out. Paint first. Then food. So I did eventually find a shop, and in the future of Cyberpunk it only took about 2 hours for a full paint job. But I was running into some trouble. It's not a Wraith car. It's mine. Why has it got wraiths on it then? Cause it used to belong to a wraith. Then I flatlined him. Now it's mine, I explained. Again. The man sitting behind a little desk in the office of the mechanic's shop was chewing on a cigarette as he leaned back, a mechanical leg propped up on a cushion, every bit the grungy mechanic. And what happens when they find out we painted their ride? Not looking for trouble like that. Kinda hard to find something out when you were left in the desert to die, I answered suggestively. His whole crew ended that way. Nothing to worry about. I just want people to stop trying to mess with my car when I leave it. $2,000. You have your prices listed right there. Still $2,000. I'm taking on risk. Uck. Even if I spend an hour explaining to you that there is no risk, you aren't gonna listen, are you? Nope. $2,000. Fine. As long as it doesn't look like shit. Alright. His eyes went gold as he let his people know, and I could see my car get moved into the painting bay. The whole thing was practically automatic, and the length was really just for the paint to dry. Any good food places around here? Nope. Lovely. He was right. The food around here was terrible. I ended up with a grumbling belly as I waited for the paint job to be finished. I was sitting in an old musty chair in the office watching the TV along with the shop owner, who was completely ignoring me when it happened. This is Network News 54 interrupting our regularly scheduled program of Will It Chip? With an emergency announcement from the NCPD. The anchor appeared, interrupting the absolute mind-melting stupidity of the previous show. The NCPD are now declaring the District of Pacifica as a no-go zone. The danger has escalated from high to extreme. All travel from the district will be fired upon, and treated as a threat to the security of Night City. Gunfire continues currently in the district, and anyone who lives nearby should make sure to close their security blinds in case of stray fire. Damn. The shop owner grumbled as he heard the news. I don't get it. Don't the NCPD normally call Pacifica a no-go zone anyways? Yeah, but switching it to extreme means there is a massive problem, probably with the combat zone. I felt myself frown. The combat zone. I knew bits about it, but it wasn't something that was accessible in the game. Kids. He grumbled at me. It means they likely lost containment. The NCPD put cyberpsychos inside when they can't, or don't want to deal with them any other way. I thought that was a rumor. PFFT. Rumor, or truth? Who knows? All I know is that anytime something crazy happens with the combat zone, Pacifica gets locked down. But it's worse than that, kid. To put together a full blockade of Pacifica, NCPD are going to be busy on that side of the city. What do you think that means for the rest of us? With a gang war already going on? Get ready, kid. Shit in Night City is about to get wild for a while. The older man offered, sighing as he reached behind him and grabbed his tactician. The shotgun had been resting against the wall until then. Then, as if it was an everyday occurrence, he pulled out a box of shotgun shells and started loading the side saddle, making sure he would have all the ammunition he might need in case of trouble. It's gonna get that bad? I couldn't help but ask the way he was acting. Tonight's gonna be hell, kid. The gangs will know that tonight they get a free pass. NCPD will bunker down and let the rest of the city go to hell until Pacifica is taken care of. That little gang war between the Claws and Strom? Tonight we will see a real gang war. They will go all out, he sighed. Gonna tell the guys to finish up and head home. Suggest you do the same, girl. Driving my newly painted black Quadra Type 66 was nice. The fact the city was almost shockingly quiet meant I couldn't enjoy it. I had already made a few texts. Hiromi was bunkering down with her parents. Apparently school was cancelled until the state of emergency was over. Ichi said he would be working for Shobo, running supplies. He had even asked if I wanted to join him. I hadn't answered back yet. Because June. Normally with something like this I would have settled into the apartment and just ignored it. As bad as it was going to be, I wasn't a member of the Tiger Claws. I wasn't a member of the Maelstrom. Their gang war had very little to do with me directly. But June would be out there. Somewhere. Alone. Probably throwing himself into murdering Maelstrom. The temptation to join with Ichi, to maybe run into June on Ichi's resupply runs. It was tempting. So as I drove home I made a call. The same call I made every day, in hopes I would get an answer. Like always, the call wasn't answered. Fine. I would just have to join Itchy and run around the city in the middle of a gang war to find my idiot brother. That would show him. I was practically gnashing my teeth as I pulled into the parking garage. Taking up my space. June's space. No, what should be our space, but wasn't. Stupid June. I stomped into the apartment suiting up in my new Edge Runner outfit. Every bit the Motoko Kusanagi that I wanted to be. I loaded up, grabbing what weapons I thought I would need. I loaded up the tactician I had grabbed from the kids so long ago, really annoyed that I had passed on the Satara that I had let Itchy have. I could have used a tech shotgun right now. Stupid Maelstrom. Stupid metal faces. I was just about to give Itchy a call to let him know I was on my way when someone called me. Ringing. I blinked, almost dropping my tactician. June. Motoko. June had actually called me. June. Where have you been? What have you been doing? Are you okay? I have a car now. If you need me to pick you up, just tell me. Do you need rescuing? Tell me what strum I have to go flatline and I'll be there in a few minutes. I rambled a bit at him. Motoko. Enough. I want you to stay home tonight. Lock the door. Don't leave until I tell you. Wah, June. I know it's going to be crazy tonight, but I'm worried about you. I haven't heard from you in forever. I've been busy, Motoko. Now promise me you will stay home. No. Not unless you promise me you will actually come home. June. Yo. Motoko. I don't have time to baby you. Get in the apartment and don't leave. Do as I say. He yelled, although the audio wasn't actually verbal so it couldn't really get that loud. But I got it loud and clear. June just snapped at me. June? Do it, Motoko. I have to go. Wait. June. I called out but the call was over. What the fuck? I cursed as I looked around, my brain seemingly unable to process for a moment. The desire to slam a phone on the hook filled me, but was unfortunately impossible. Stupid future, where was a century-old landline when you need one? I finally heard from June, only for him to basically tell me to stay out of it. Well, obviously I didn't want to get involved in this shit, but June was being stupid. I picked up my shotgun, glaring at the tactician for a moment before breathing out a breath, letting the frustration go with it. June was still alive. Obviously he wanted me to be safe. I just wanted him to be safe too. I put the shotgun on the dining room table, having to push aside all the junk I had been tinkering with. Fine. I would stay home tonight. For now. But I would be keeping an ear to the ground just in case. Ringing. Hey Itchy, I can't go tonight. June wants me to stay home, but do me a favor. Send me some updates throughout the night. If you need help, or something crazy starts happening, let me know. Yeah. Alright. I'll call you if we need an extra gun. Stay safe, Motoko. Everyone is saying it's gonna get crazy for a while. You too, Itchy. You'll need it more than me tonight. Dash. Angry tinkering followed. I took apart my carnage, and with the knowledge I had from Gun Nut, and a lot of extra scrap now lying around the house. Okay, so maybe it was a good thing June wasn't home. I basically started fixing the parts on the gun that often had problems. The cocking handle got stuck because they put a plastic doohickey inside a shotgun designed to be as unsmooth as possible. So I took it out and basically made my own. Using a bit of scrap metal and a handheld cutting torch that was in the toolbox, I cut out a new part. So I had to fabricate a copy of the doohickey that kept the shotgun's pump handle from just falling out of alignment and letting you actually pump the shotgun. After a few minutes of struggling to get it right, I managed to replace the plastic piece. With that while pumping the shotgun, still felt like I was fighting an angry squirrel, but it would keep working for a lot longer without just breaking down, as the plastic had a tendency to just shatter with the forces the carnage put itself under. Technical attribute XP had been flowing in, as I basically just went to a weak point in the carnage and just fixed it. My anger crafting actually worked out, as when I finished installing the part I got the alert. Technical attribute leveled up. I blinked as I took in the new information. I looked at the toolbox. The toolbox that had tools that I hadn't used because I had no idea what they were. Still didn't know what all of them were, but I knew a little more now. Enough to know that I had a better solution than what I had just done. Angry repair shop lady's toolbox had been my source of fixing stuff so far, but I realized she really hadn't screwed me over as much as I had thought. Well, I didn't know the price of the tools yet, but I knew how useful some of them were. One was literally a miniature 3D printer of sorts. Except it could print metal. Put something that wasn't absolute top-of-the-line metals into the hopper, it would break down the metal and then print out whatever design you needed. That had potential. I picked up the device that was about as big as a loaf of bread and settled it flat onto the table. Pulling out my connector port and hooked it in, and within a few moments, thanks to my Kiroshi, I was able to basically upload a schematic of the doohickey I needed. I didn't have to think about dimensions or tolerances, as the Kiroshi's scan of the plastic version handled almost all of that, with a bit of my own knowledge adjusting it, until I had the schematic of the doohickey I needed. I put in a bit of steel into the hopper, and watched as the device quickly began producing the part I needed. Future tech. I smiled as I already got another crafting alert. Doing something new earned a faster level up, I remembered. I grinned before an explosion outside dimmed my happiness. That wasn't the first explosion of the night. Nor would it be the last. I stood and peeked out the guard blinds. I couldn't see the source of the explosion, too far away, but the noise didn't end. Gunshots. Explosions. I had turned off the news when the reports started coming in. I was tempted. An urge was there to just head out into the night. There was a lot of XP I could gain out there. Stopping crimes. Killing Borgs. But I didn't. I was sneaky, but it was one thing to sneak through a den of sleepy scavs, and another to sneak up on a group ready and looking for a fight. So I stayed inside, and had to deal with the fact that I decided not to head out. If I was a hero, I would go out. To save even a few people. If I was a villain, I would go out. To kill and get more loot and power. But I wasn't either of those things. I had walked past plenty of homeless people in the city before. I hadn't stopped to save them. I had killed people, but I like to believe I had done it for more than just the XP. More than just my own personal benefit. I had killed on a job, or because I wanted to stop the scavs. So I wasn't a hero or a villain. I was Motoko, and Motoko would listen to June at least for tonight. But tomorrow? Well, that was a whole other day, and June had better be prepared. The news chattered away as I continued to tinker. Crafting had been leveling fast as I messed with my equipment. My Unity was given a going over and I even replaced some of the older parts. It had been a weapon June had got for me more for personal protection than for running through scav dens. So I did some work on it, messed with the trigger, replaced the spring, even took a few minutes to design an extended magazine and make one. I was no longer limited to 12 rounds. I now had 15. Woo! I giggled at my own pleasure at such a minor improvement overall, but it did give me a nice alert. 100 crafting XP gained. So that was nice. But while I was cozy in my apartment, the city was burning. Often literally. The news had a few reports about the Pacifica thing, and while it was obviously heavily propagandized, there was a hint that all the positive reports were bullshit. Considering the cordon was still active. So I waited. I did get messages from Michi through the night. He was nice enough to give me little updates. Thankfully all he was really doing was transporting ammunition and staying away from the bad war zones. So he and Malcolm were tired but fine. Hiromi had taken to sending me paragraph-length texts about how bored she was. So she was fine. Nothing yet from June. So I just continued to tinker. I had plenty of parts right now. Lots of scrap to mess with, so I just went to work. I did some adjustment on my weapons sights, making sure they were more accurate. Repaired damaged parts, and cleaned all my weapons. Since I had so many now, and they were all previously owned by scavs, or RAF, and some were quite messy. And so I spent the day, working with my hands and blocking out the world. Enjoying the feeling of bringing life back to my equipment. Crafting skill level up. The alert came mid-afternoon, and I sighed. Crafting 3 meant I was once more at my tech attributes cap. Once again I was stuck trying to level tech rather than the skill. At least the search of new information meant I had plenty of new things to tinker with. One of the laptops that I had found had an issue I now knew the solution for, and I was going to do that first. Just as I was soldering a new power line for the laptop, having realized the issue was the power source wasn't connecting right anymore, the door opened. I instantly reached for a gun. My carnage was closest as I went to grab it only to get tangled in the laptop and end up overbalanced, I turned it into a tumble where I landed on my back with the carnage pointed at the door. Motoko. Jun ni. I replied to his greeting as I lowered the shotgun. Welcome home, I said, unable to get my tongue to say anything else. Jun hadn't taken my advice to stop chipping in new chrome. He nodded almost coldly as he entered the apartment, looking around at my mess of guns and parts, and other equipment. But I was staring at all the new pieces. His arms I had seen before. His legs were new. He was wearing pants, but they hung lower on his hips, showing the chrome peeking up from his legs. His eyes were different. He definitely had subdermal armor as well. A large chunk of his stomach was now fake. A black carbon fiber look to his new abs that meant they were definitely chipped in. He carried a new katana on his hip. That wasn't Aruto-san's katana. It was the more military style that Arasaka produced. I thought it looked cool, but it wasn't our family's weapon. The weapon Jun had carried with him religiously. Jun. Motoko. You've made a mess. Clean it up. Well, sorry, since I was the only one living here, I made it my own, I snapped at him before stopping and taking a breath. Jun, what did you do to yourself? That's way too much chrome that fast. You're gonna lose your mind. I don't need your opinion, Motoko. I didn't ask for it either. I'm here because you were going to do something stupid. Threatening to go after the maelstrom with everything going on. Are you stupid? He snapped at me, that coldness turning into Jun's normal hot-headedness. Don't tell me about stupid, Jun. How much chrome have you chipped in the last month? How many drugs do they have you on? Any? Was that chrome even good stuff, or just garbage you took from the Strom? I said I don't need your opinion, he snapped. I'm doing what I have to, he snapped at me back. But I wasn't going to let this go. Jun. You don't have to do this. Stop it. Stay home. Get your bearings again. Get used to your chrome. Enough, he roared and punched out. I could tell it wasn't heading for me, so I didn't move, but Jun's armored fist smashed into the kitchen divider wall, blowing a hole right through it. You never listen. I'm not going to baby you forever, Motoko. Grow up. Learn to take care of yourself for once. I flinched back at that. For the first time he actually said something that actually hurt me. Sure. I had relied on Jun to take care of me. I mean, he was one paying for the apartment. Rent, food, clothes. Anything I needed he took care of. And now he was throwing that into my face. I know I rely on you. I'm trying to move past that, but I still want you in my life. I don't want to see you dead. Jun didn't say anything. He was sort of staring past me, at the hole in the wall, and then down at his shaking hands. Jun, you've pushed too far. Too hard. Why don't you sit down? We can talk this out. Just for a little while. Okay? It took a moment, but as I slowly reached out for his hand that he was staring at, he jerked away from me. Stop trying to get in my way. I have to do this. What is this? What is it that you have to do that you'll tear yourself apart to do it? I'll kill them, Motoko, all of them. I won't stop until they are all dead. Nothing can get in my way. Not even you. He pointed at me then. Stay out of it. Stop bothering me, he hissed, and it sounded more like an older brother telling his little sister to stop bothering him and his friends. That wasn't what was happening though. This was Jun trying to cut out all of his connections. No. I tell his back as he moves to walk out of the apartment, only to stop. I won't stop trying to reach you. To try and make you stop. This isn't you, Jun. This doesn't have to be you. His fists clenched as he turned on me. You always get in the way. Good. I will always get in the way of you trying to kill yourself. You think you are doing this for your friend? Or to avenge them? You aren't. This is suicide. Suicide by maelstrom. I won't sit here and let you die. I won't die. Not before I kill them. He answered, and I could tell he was actually trying to sound cool. Fucking gonk, what kind of edgelord bullshit is that? I screamed at him, but he didn't stop and left the apartment. I chased after him. No way was I letting this end here. He was fast though. Stupid cyber-legged idiot. I caught him outside as he climbed onto his bike. Jun. Goodbye, Motoko, he said before the engine of his bike started up, and even as I chased after, trying to leap onto his bike so he couldn't escape, he was gone. Driving down the road. Away from me. Idiot. I screamed as I did my best to chase after him, but as I hit the road I had to leap back onto the sidewalk to dodge a van that was speeding down the street. By the time I turned back to June he was gone. Fuck. Dash. I was back upstairs not long after, loading everything I would need. Why the hell would I let June race off into the sunset knowing he is going to suicide by Maelstrom Borg? It wasn't going to be easy tracking him down, but I had wheels and I could follow the gunshots. I would keep hitting every firefight between Tiger Claws and Strom until I found him. Even if I had to murder every Strom in the city first. Something about that twigged at my mind, something about that thought was hypocritical, but I shook it away. Save idiot June first. I cocked my carnage, the action much smoother than it had been before I went to work on it. Loaded and ready I put it to the side. Already I had a bag full of weapons and gear I was going to bring with me. And a lot of ammo. I shouldered the large bag now full of weapons I had found hidden away in my closet, and after removing the weird Tiger Claw swag I had a good enough gun bag. Then I took it downstairs across the street and into the parking garage. I loaded it all up in the passenger seat of my ride. All right Motoko. Go get suited up and let's rescue June, I whispered to myself, patting my casual clothes clear of the dust and grime they had accumulated from all my tinkering. I took 2 steps to do that when I bonked my head. Idiot. I forgot the meds. I had already been low after my desert adventure and I had bought some more in the following days. But I needed to load up more than just the emergency inhaler that was in my strap-on pockets. I was about to go on a roaring rampage of revenge. I mean justice. A rampage of justice. Yeah. I was definitely going to get hurt hunting June and killing Strom. I would need to load that up first, then suit up. I walked out of the garage considering if there was anything else I wanted to bring along. I already had most of my stuff stuffed into my car, so I was probably just overthinking it. As I moved across the street I felt it. A warning sign. Danger sense. Someone was about to spot me. I looked around, but it wasn't until I looked back towards the road I realized what danger I was in. Maelstrom. A large Maelstrom truck roared down the street along with 2 bikers as they raced down. I backed up but realized instantly that I was in trouble. They were looking at me. They were coming for me. I drew my Unity, the only weapon I had on hand, and started firing. 4 rounds into the truck's driver's side window didn't get me anything, but the bikers were more affected as I watched rounds bounce off their body, but one went through one of the biker's leg in a burst of blood. He didn't lose control, but he definitely slowed down after that. Then the other biker was on me. A pipe in his hand swung from his motorcycle. I leapt to the side, rolling away from him as his tires squealed as he turned. This was bad. I turned and ran back towards the garage. They would catch up if I went through the entrance. So I looked up. Parkour guided me, clambering up an advertisement, then leaping to the 2nd floor of the building, starting to climb up when a roar echoed out, the concrete above it exploding, sending shrapnel into my face. And I was falling. I crashed into the concrete below, just managing to roll as I hit the ground. Did Cat-like just save my life? I think it did. I love Cat-like. Cat-like is love. I came back up ready to fight, my hand reaching for a weapon only for nothing to be there. Not because of a lack of weapons. My Unity was back in my holster. I could feel it. But because of a lack of hand. My hand was gone. Where was my hand? There was nothing but bloody gristle and... Oh. I felt cool rush through me, icing my veins and calming my freakout. My hand. I needed that. I did all my stuff with my hand. Coolness flushed even that thought away, calming and centering me. But it still took me a moment. I was so thrown for that moment, that I slowed just enough that the biker caught me. I raised my hands. My arms. Just in time, blocking the pipe with my forearm, and giving me a nasty crunch that sent a shock of pain up my arms as I crashed and rolled across the cement again. Before I could get up I was pinned. Bloody Legborg grabbed my hair and smashed me into the concrete. Ow! Unfortunately for him, I still had a hand. Just the one, but it was enough. He raised me up and I slipped my knife below his armpit. I was right. He might have subdermal armor, but he didn't have it everywhere. He didn't have the armor covering his armpit. Which was really stupid. That is a nasty place to get stabbed. I twisted and pulled, a jet of white Borg blood shooting out as I did. He immediately howled and started bashing my face into the concrete. Ow, ow, ow. I could feel myself blacking out as he continued to batter me for a moment before he suddenly grew weak and fell over. 1000 XP gained. Ah, good. He died. I coughed a bit, blood splattering the concrete as I tried to push myself up, only to find out it really hurts when you push a bloody stump into the ground. It knocked the wind out of me for a moment even through cold blood, as I fell back down. Damn. She got 6th stroke. Fucking more dangerous than I thought. This her? Yeah, definitely the Oni's family. Sister, I think. I saw them together this morning while I was tailing the Oni. Well, stop her from bleeding out and load her up. Don't want the claws to show up, do we? You got it, he chuckled as I felt hands hold me down, and a nasty piece of cloth was wrapped around my forearm. Wait. Hold her down. I don't want any more trouble. The voice called back, and a moment later I felt like a full-grown Borg was pressing down on me, holding me still as I moaned a bit out of my battered face. Then something flashed. Oh. I guess I will need a hand from now on. Because I was out of them.